celebrating half a decade because home is where the heart is. And certainly our heart lies here in Boulder. Good morning, Boulder. Excited to be back to the happiest place in the United States. Nestled between the Rockies and reality, the fifth time around. In these critical times, the penetrating intercultural dialogue exchange speaks deeply to individuals and gives rise to the joy of community. And we invite you to join us in examining the human experience through the reflections and imaginations of distinguished contemporary authors from across the globe. In an uplifting celebration of the mind and heart, writers and thinkers from the Americas, Asia, Africa, and Europe will take part in provocative conversations about life and society, economics and the arts, equity, freedom, and the care of our planet. So let's come together to celebrate the word with JLF at Boulder, Colorado, in association with Boulder Library Foundation, the City of Boulder, and the Boulder Public Library. Please join me in welcoming the festival producer and managing director, Teamwork Arts, Sanjoy Roy.
Thank you, Suraj. Good morning. It's so wonderful to walk up here and see the energy and the buzz, and like I was saying to John a little while ago, the entire atmosphere is sexy and exciting, and it's about ideas and thoughts. Well, my secret is actually what I get from, it comes in 3 sort of bottles from organic India. Brahmi, LKC, and I forget what the Ashwagandha. So those of you who like my hair, just, go and buy the product. Thank you all so much for coming on behalf of my colleagues, Jesse, Jules, Maruta, our festival co-directors, Namita, Gokhale, William Dalrymple, my colleagues, Suraj, Ankur, Kritika, Sharupa, and all of our friends back home. A big welcome to the fifth edition of JLF here in Boulder. Yes, absolutely. Every year, I threaten to pull the plug, and like as Param said, why do you keep threatening to run away? And then we land here and, drive from Denver through to Boulder, through the rolling fields into this magnificent place, and we say, how can we ever leave this? This is just amazing. And thank you all for making it so amazing. I'd like to welcome all our guests from as far as Doha, Qatar, and from the Bay Area, and from Florida, Tampa, and from New York, and Washington, and Seattle, who've flown in here specially to be part of this weekend. For us, it's special. This was our mothership, and it continues to be. The other editions that we have across the United States are smaller versions, different programming, but smaller versions. But this is really where we're able to find the voice, bring the ideas, look at all of the differences, and celebrate the similarities across continents, across languages, color, being, social, and economic divides. In our very complex world, and it's not getting any easier, even as we speak, we've got Howdy Modi happening in Houston with Trump, so be it. The world has got really complicated, and we do believe that the written word and the arts and literature can make that one step, perhaps, to be able to understand the other and stop being afraid all the time. Many of our politicians, not just here, but literally across the world, except New Zealand, I keep saying we all need to migrate there. They have a fantastic prime minister. Except New Zealand, absolutely. Perhaps we need to get her to do a sort of, leadership program for some of our leaders, and, maybe get them to also read sometimes. And in New York, in fact, I was asked, why do you come here in September in the middle of UNGA when every world leader is there? And we say, well, maybe they'll hear something of what's being said, something that the writers write. Because writers write not necessarily only to entertain. Writers write because they have a volition to write, to be able to make sense of what's come in the past, of of what is in the present, and perhaps envision a tomorrow that we have to create for our future generations. And looking at the climate right now, that's like super bleak. And the reason why we are here in Boulder is really to address some of these key issues. And Namita and William are going to share with us some of the programming ideas that they've come up with. And I hope all of you are going to partake of this and enjoy the 2 days and come back for more. And for those of you who haven't had enough, come up to Toronto. It's straight up the street. Many thanks to David and Kathy and everybody at the library and the Library Foundation. The first time we came here, or I came here and I saw this building, I said, we have to do the festival here. The natural light, the creek, the lawns outside, the spread of this library is fabulous, and really thank you for making this such a wonderful place for the community here in Boulder. Thank you so much. Z has been our partners for 6 years, and we owe a deep debt of gratitude for them for making this possible. And adding to that, we have with us the Asha Jadeja Motwani and the foundation. Asha, if you're here somewhere, thank you so much for coming on board as one of our key patrons. Absolutely. And to Dr. Parikshit Singh, all the way from Tampa, Florida, who also believed in a JLF here. And from as far as Tampa, he said, you know, I'm going to support the festival. So thank you, Dr. Singh, and you'll be hearing from them later. To Organic India, Lifestyle, etc. Thank you all for, we didn't realize you were just up the street from here, but hopefully many people will be able to discover you. And to Bhakti Chai, and to all of our supporters and sponsors. Thank you. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. And may I invite our festival co-director, Namita Gokhale, to come and share a little bit about the program, and then William will join us. Thank you.
So, both Suraj and Sanjoy, who spoke before me, have spoken of the sense of homecoming we feel when we come here. For me, this translates into the Boulder Creek, with its fast-flowing waters and the songs it sings of constant motion and the very flow of life. It's something about this place reminds me of my hometown in the Himalayas, and I do feel rooted and happy here. So, our 5th edition, we carry the spirit of Jaipur to this beautiful Boulder Public Library. And well, too many words will spoil it, but you understood what I'm trying to say because you're all a part of it. Literary festivals like this one build up an environment and an ecosystem to nurture readers and to promote the business of books. They provide an invaluable forum for writers to connect with other creative people. And a lot of the real productivity comes off hours in the bus here, sitting outside, eating a meal, where you discover new friendships and new learnings. It's a sort of World Wide Web, I'd say, different one of intuitions and inspirations and deep and lasting friendships in a literary community around the world. And so at a time of doubt and anxiety, shared narratives, literature, philosophy, music, poetry, these do provide solace, they do provide inspiration. So the next 2 days will be transformative, so many of us in so many different ways, from that line picked up somewhere, that overheard sentence, that the communicated passion of writers and speakers. We begin the festival with the resonant voices of Maza Mengeste and Chitra Banerjee Divakaruni just now after this. We travel forgotten roads with Kent Nurban and David Heska Vanbli Vedan. Izeldin Abulesh declares his resolve not to hate in that session, We Shall Not Hate. Then from Wordscapes to Imaginarium, from sessions on craft weed by Ryan Stower to Sohela Abdul Ali on what we talk about when we talk about rape, from Earthbound, Food to Live By, to Empire of Cotton from John Ralston Saul, to The Comeback, Sven Beckert on the Empire of Cotton and John Ralston Saul on The Comeback, William Dalrymple, my very dear co-director, on his new book, Hot Off the Press, on the anarchy and the lessons to learn from it. So all these are conversations across time and place, language and culture, subjects and situations. Most of you know and have been to the Jaipur Literature Festival, but just to remind you, it is really the largest free literature event in the world. It's a place where India thinks aloud, argues with itself, listens to itself. It is plural, diverse, and multilingual. We are a young festival with 60% of our audiences below the age of 25. And over the years, we have established festivals around the world, and between the British Library in London, Belfast in Northern Ireland, Adelaide, Houston, New York, Toronto, and of course Boulder. You could say that the sun doesn't set on our literary travels. And for me, these festivals are a sort of a quilt, a patchwork quilt, in a rather feminine metaphor, I suppose, but which give comfort and which have different sort of patterns of genres, languages, and cultural fabrics. In 2013, in India, one of our greatest Indian writers, who sadly is no more, the writer Mahashweta Devi, declared in her opening address that the right to dream should be the most fundamental right. I repeat this time and again in festivals around the world because really the right to dream is what we are all seeking, and we will again celebrate the dreaming mind in the next 2 days. Thank you.
In this world full of anxieties, with political angst spread equally between the United States, my own home of Great Britain, and India, all appearing to plunge down some terrible vortex of anxiety and confrontation, this festival is a modest cause for optimism. Since we started, Namita would not forgive me if I didn't include my favorite anecdote of the first session in Diggy Palace, when 16 Japanese tourists turned up, 10 of whom promptly left as they'd been looking for Amer Fort rather than our festival. I had to say it at one point during this tour. From those modest beginnings, only 12 years ago, this has grown into some, I think Namita once described it as a monster from Puranic myth, this sort of beast rising from the depths and encircling the world, maybe churning it to produce the Amrit of literary excellence. That was complicated, but I know where that came from. We do worry that book sales are declining, newspapers going bankrupt, that our children spend more time on their phones than they do in books, that it's hard to get kids to write, that even among adults, by the time we finished all our emails and Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, there's only about 10 minutes left for the pile of books piling up, even the most ambitious reader. Against this extraordinary success, not just of our literary festival, but of literary festivals around the world, and the sheer numbers that turn up. This year in Jaipur, we had 500,000 footfalls, which is kind of Glastonbury and Woodstock combined. I mean, that's and you know, there were some Bollywood actors, there was, I think, one cricketer, but basically it's writers talking about quite difficult subjects. It's not pop. It's not you know, literary cornflakes or philosophical McDonald's. This is quite hard stuff, and it is an extraordinary feat to see the numbers that do turn up to hear authors speak. And I think in some level it is the flip side of the amount of our lives that are now spent wherever we are in the world and whatever our jobs, looking at screens. We sit there peering into those electronic grids in front of our eyes, and it only increases the desire to see the real thing in the flesh, to actually hear an author speak firsthand, to read from their work, to hear the tones of their voice modulate as they read their most treasured passages of prose. And I think that is the B-side to the you know, the decline of book sales, the difficulties publisher faces, and so on. So we welcome you back for this 5th edition. It's a huge pleasure to be here. I, quite independently from the others, also, as we drove from Denver, that moment you could see the Rockies. Yesterday, spectacularly lit up with little squalls of rain in some places and shafts of autumn light breaking through the sky in others. And we thought we will come home. So thank you for hosting us another year. Thank you for putting up with us. Thank you.
I think let's give them another round of applause. Our festival co-directors, Namita, Gokhale, and William Dalrymple. Thank you, Namita. Thank you, William, for giving your heart and soul for the programming and giving us these fantastic sessions, which we're looking forward to attend. Encouraging and believing in festival's concept, the city has played a key role in opening many doors for us and constantly believing in the power of dialogue. I now take the honor of inviting the Mayor of City of Boulder, Suzanne Jones.
Good morning, wonderful people. Yes. Thank you so much for being here. Our beautiful city is all the more so because of your presence. So thank you for gracing us from all parts of the world to be here together. This festival was likened to a cause for optimism. I couldn't agree more. I think of it as a long, deep drink of cool water on a summer day. It is a chance to pause from the madness, which is our national, or I guess our international politics, to come together with fascinating people from around the globe and to have elevating conversation about meaningful and important topics in a way that we come away elevated and refreshed with a new lease on life. So I can't thank the organizers enough for choosing Boulder. We are so pleased that it's in its 5th year this year. That is no small feat, thanks to you all. We do not take it for granted that Boulder was chosen as the first North American satellite festival. It's a huge honor we will not forget, and we are enriched because of it. We are indebted to both the local and international people that came together to make that happen, and we hope it's a tradition that continues for decades to come. So thank you and welcome.
Thank you, Suzanne, for hosting us in your beautiful, beautiful city. Yesterday, I was chatting with somebody, and somebody told me, you know, there's a curse that whoever comes to Boulder stays in Boulder. I was like, wow, I want to be cursed. And none of this would have been possible without a venue that supports the arts, history, business, policy, and most importantly, is the hub for community interaction and culture. Supporting, endorsing, and motivating us for the last 5 editions of the festival, we owe our gratitude to Boulder Public Library. Absolutely, they deserve this big round of applause. May I please invite David Farnan, Director of Boulder Public Library, to come up on stage and share with us a few words.
Good morning and welcome to Boulder Public Library. I am so grateful and honored to see so many familiar faces and some new faces. So for you new folks, this is an absolute treat, a stunning few days, and I can't say it better than others have. It's truly a great, and for those of you who have come back, I'm so glad to see you coming back to the Boulder Public Library. Literature has always been a refuge for me my entire life. I am inspired by it. I take solace there. It's always been a place where I go that's very, very personal and very deep for me. And this festival realizes that in such a magnificent and beautiful way that I think you're going to really have a wonderful time over the next few days. I love the cool drink of water on a summer day. That's a beautiful analogy for the festival. Libraries are understood to be about books, but ultimately libraries are about democracy. I say and democracy and public space are threatened in our society today. And so I tell my staff, we are the last great unbroken promise of a democratic society. And I believe that with all my heart. A festival like this is a beautiful indication of the kind of thing that I truly, truly believe in, and I think makes our society more whole and more pure. We live in frenetic times, as others have said. The insanity that surrounds us, the fabric of our society, we don't know what's going to be torn the very next day. It could be immigration, it could be racial equity, it could be healthcare. There are a million issues that are fracturing our society, and it's terrifying to see. And yet I find solace also now in my family who's here, and they are activists and protesters. And there's a great phrase that exists in the American protest movement, which involves a call and response that goes, "Show me what democracy looks like." And this is what democracy looks like, is the refrain. And I think that that's what this festival is all about. Show me what democracy looks like, and this is what democracy looks like. Thank you so much for coming today. Thank you so much to the City of Boulder, Z, Teamwork Arts, the Boulder Library Foundation, the Boulder Public Library. To my staff, I want to give a huge round of applause. And there are hundreds of volunteers that make this festival happen, and we can't thank them enough. I'm not even sure what we have this year. It's something like 220 volunteers who are here throughout the festival to make this thing a great event for all of us. So give them a big round of applause as well. Thank you, and welcome to Boulder. Enjoy yourself.
As Sanjoy mentioned in the beginning, that for the first time when we came to the library, since then we've been in love with the library, David and his entire team, Kathy, Kate, Aspen, everybody. So thank you very much, the entire team of the library for hosting us here. Yes. Now I would like to invite one of our festival patrons, Asha Jadeja. Asha is Silicon Valley's top 10 venture capital investors who has in her portfolio over 200 technology companies that she seed funded. Well known among them in non-tech circle are Google, PayPal, Pinterest, and App Dynamics. She's also one of most prolific collectors of Indian modern and contemporary art. She's donating her entire collection to a museum that she's creating in San Francisco. Yes, let's give her a round of applause. Asha's family foundation donates over $1 million a year towards creating disruptive new learning and livelihood modalities in India. It supports more than a dozen key NGOs in India in the learning and women's freedom space. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming our festival patron, Asha Jadeja Motwani.
Hi, good morning, and I'm deeply honored and grateful that I've been invited to speak here. I come from a very tech world of the Bay Area, and this is my first time in Boulder, and I'm just blown away by the by the sheer sort of the welcoming, the warmth of the people here, and the amount of sort of knowledge of the outside world also that I'm seeing in in the local sort of people here. And what I'm really here today excited about the JLF is that most in the Bay Area, we are also tech focused. That this is the first time, I think the JLF is bringing a sort of art and culture, element into sort of the Indian diaspora narrative also. So for me, this is really a treat to sort of see JLF growing out of Boulder actually, and hopefully moving to some other cities in the U.S. And I think this will enable conversations about the Indian and even sort of South Asian diaspora in general, and their struggles and their joys of being here, raising children here who are very American, and yet we get sort of our heartstrings tugged every now and then to sort of do something in India. So for me, it's just a treat being part of the sort of the learning from the JLF team, and I hope to keep coming to Boulder regularly now. I love the city, so thank you for having me.
Thank you, Asha. Now may I please invite another festival patron, Dr. Parikshit Singh. Dr. Singh is a medical practitioner and has written several books and poems. He is currently the CEO of Access Healthcare LLC, a multi-specialty group practice of physicians in Florida. We're grateful for his support towards the festival and would request him to come and say a few words. Dr. Parikshit Singh.
What a beautiful place. Amazing. I've been to Utah. I loved the national parks there. And I must say this is just as beautiful and as lovely. And I hope to bring my children, my family here again and again. A few words about ourselves. I've been in the US since 1993. I did my medical training here and settled in Tampa Bay, Florida in 1996, started our business, mostly in medicine, but found common passion with a lot of people in our company who love literature and arts. So we founded a charitable organization called Auroveda in 2004, and a literary society called Tampa Bay Literary Society last year. And we've held small events of writers, poets, philosophers, thinkers across the globe in small cities, in India, in Delhi, in Chandigarh, Jaipur, Mumbai, in Ireland, and in the small town of Spring Hill, Florida, known for its mermaids. And to tell you about who we are, because more than talking didactic or talking about ourselves, sometimes it's how we behave under situations that tells us, kind of stands up as a mirror to who we are. And all these three incidents that I would like to relate are related in some way or the other to this festival. So yesterday we had a little opening, inaugurative dinner, and was talking to a friend who came from Qatar, talking to him about what we do. And he said, "Oh, but you must be in competition with JLF." And it hit me, because I hate the word competition, and hate is a bad word. I do not like the word competition. So I said, "No." And then I said, "Well, maybe yes." But competition that is creative, competition that is collaborative, competition as in two artists playing music together, as in jazz, riffing together, taking a note, building on it, creating a counterpoint, and then playing off each other, having fun. Well, if that's competition, I would love to have it. And I would love for all of us to compete in that spirit of joy and togetherness. And I really appreciate Sanjoy helping us, coming to Spring Hill, and kind of guiding us, mentoring us in coming to a point where we present beautiful things in a beautiful manner. That is what I learned from him. A Lit Fest can be a gathering of artists. You bring them together, you have readings, and then you're done. But to see this ambiance that kind of stimulates, brings us to a new awareness, evokes beauty, a sense of joy in us, that itself is a work of art. And I think this is his best contribution that I can see. Of course, there are many others creating a confluence of different minds coming together. And I'll come to the second incident, which is about Sanjoy. And I hope he'll forgive me for mentioning this. We were having lunch yesterday, and we were looking at some drink, some concoction which had CBD oil in it. See, I'm a doctor. I love CBD oil. I'd rather give patients CBD oil and get rid of all the other opioids and sedatives. So Sanjoy, if you might allow me, told me a story. I do not know whether he was kidding or if it was real. He told me about the first time he had bhang. We call it bhang. It is the leaves of the plant crushed together in some milk or some nut butter, and then people have it, and it takes you on a high. And apparently he took it with 2 other people. And the trip, they all had the same experience. So he went right to the center of creation. He went to, and he saw Brahma. Brahma in Indian mythology is the creator of the worlds. And all 3 partners in Bhang saw Brahma. And then soon thereafter, they all fell in the pit. And it's real. And I think it's real, right? I'm sorry, I had to say that. So from the summit to the pit. Why is it important? It hit me somewhere. Because what is shared experience in a shared setting? Another word for it is art. We are all doing here right now. We are tripping, no pun intended, but it's on something beautiful. Hopefully we'll have several flashes of moments when we see something beautiful, if I may say something divine that is in all of us, that we all can touch. And we will stay at the summit. And because it's a shared togetherness, hopefully there will be no pit. So, and that is the whole point of art, that we can share something joyous, be conscious, be alive, be true, and reach the center of creation without the CBD oil. Of course, that helps. And in that shared experience, maybe open up our neurons, our synapses to each other, the walls, the barriers fall off, and in that moment, the little moment, something interesting happens. As Eliot said, at the still point of the turning world, neither from nor towards, neither flesh nor fleshless, there the dance is. So this is the dance, and we are the dance. And then the third incident. A few days ago, the famous poet from India, a writer of repute, a scholar, Makarand Paranjape, I think he's been on one of the other festivals here. He came to Spring Hill. He wanted to see what we do. He was curious. So we took him to our little healing center where I'm not allowed to practice Western medicine. I'm kept out. And my wife, who is a natural healer, although she's an MD, she has her own little area of holistic, integral healing. So beautiful place she has created with only 15 people were there, and Makarand read his poetry. And it was beautiful to see the audience probing. He talked about love and faith and doubt and kind of triggered something in each of us. And we went a little inside, and that's where we asked, that's where we responded from. And he, in that same vein, continued responding from a deeper level. And those moments we found were where almost we hit a kind of synchronicity, togetherness, and we had a deep conversation. And we all learned something about each other and ourselves. That is who we are. In our little society that we have created, Tampa Bay Literary Society, we want to create little events, little quantum happenings across the universal scale so that something new might happen, something true, something truly of our spirit. In the modern world, we hear about singularity. You might have read the phrase or the word singularity. I think it was Ray Kurzweil who talks about it, that we are all moving together. The digital world is bringing us together. But the problem is, it's the singularity of shallowness that we are seeing. In the world of reality shows and reality TV in the digitized world, we are not going deeper. We have engaged on a superficial level. So rather than that singularity, can we find a singularity where we have our true depth coming out? A writer has talked about this, saying that we are seeing the 6 Ds happening right in front of our eyes. We are fortunate in the last 15, 20 years to see tectonic shifts happening. And he writes them down, I think his name is Diamandis, digitization, deception, democratization, dematerialization, and disruption, right? And these are the 6 Ds that he has brought up. And I would like to add to it one more D, dumbing down. Our children are playing on these so-called smartphones, which are really dumb phones, and they cannot talk to you, they cannot look in our eyes, they cannot communicate. Our journalism, our politics, our denominations are engaging on a superficial level. So if we can create these opportunities, be part of these opportunities to have an intenser conversation, a discourse where we can be ourselves and yet be together, as the excellent Vedic phrase calls it, infinite variation in infinite oneness, then it might be worthwhile. That is who we are, and that is our goal. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Singh. Now, to kickstart this half-a-decade celebration and to enthrall the audience with the powerful poetry, may I please invite on stage Andrew Schelling. Andrew Schelling is a poet, essay writer, and translator of poetry from Sanskrit. Please welcome Andrew.
Welcome to Boulder and JLF, everybody. I'm going to read one poem that will invoke some of our local deities here and hopefully introduce some of the visitors to our bioregion. And for those of you who live here already, maybe something familiar will show up. This is a poem about books and mountains called After the Cricket. Back east, the landscapes feel archaic, compressed. A friend sends word of Mount Greylock. Was it Herman Melville who gave it the name? Mound of blue conifer looks in my memory smoky. I spent a week camped at its base. Little waterproof tent, my wife Christina, Oliver, who I worked with, our mid-sized shepherd dog's mud prints on the Salvation Army sleeping bags. We sorted books in a soft meadow all day. Someone near Pittsfield had a barn full of crazy old titles, now wanted to sell them. 200 cartons we shipped west to the collectivist bookshop we worked at. Finally, in my 67th year, I'm figuring out that jagged, bunched up, cracked granite snarl of the Indian peaks. The drainages called blue, green, rainbow, jasper, and there's blocky old Devil's Thumb, elk going over the passes for all human history. Hoof tracks mark the scary snow cornices. Chasms, chessmen, pinnacles, hoodoos, chutes, relic glaciers and ice-fed lakes that clench your balls up into your belly. It's Tao Te Ching and Farmer's Almanac crunched by 3 billion years into one granite treatise, a text no one could figure out in a lifetime. In the foothills, crickets arrived overnight. Julia Seiko once told me the elderly gardeners of Longmont, working the unforgiving soil beneath Long's Peak, say snow comes 6 weeks after the cricket. Thank you.
That was fantastic. Thank you, Andrew. To continue with the mood, may I now invite Amit Majmudar. Amit is a novelist, poet, translator, essayist, and diagnostic nuclear radiologist. Please welcome him with a big round of applause.
It's really wonderful to see so many people coming from so many different places. And even those of you who are natives of Boulder, in some way or another, you come from different places, different cultures, different backgrounds. And so we're all united in literature here. And so I wanted to read this poem that celebrates our multiplicity and our literariness. And it's called To the Hyphenated Poets. Richer than mother's milk is half and half. Friends of two minds, redouble your craft. Our shelves are hives, ourselves a royal jelly. May we at Benares and Boston, Philly and Delhi, collect our birthright nectar. No swarm our own. We must be industrious, both queen and drone. Being two beings requires a rage for rigor, rewritable memory, hybrid vigor. English herself is a crossbred mother mutt, primly promiscuous and hot to rut. Oneness, pure chimera. Splendor is spliced. Make your halves into something twice your size. Your tongue a hyphen joining nation to nation. Recombine. Become a thing of your own creation, a many-minded mongrel. The line's renewal, self-made and twofold, soul and dual. Thank you very much.
That was really, really powerful, Amit. Thank you very much. Now to conclude, may I please request my dear friend, our dear friend, and the executive director of the festival, Jesse Fredman, to come and say thank yous. It's never easy to put up a festival. With lots of supporters, partners, and donors, we are able to put up the festival only then. So may I please ask Jesse to come up and say thank yous to all of our partners. Jesse.
Thank you, everyone. I think everything lovely and meaningful that could be said has already been said. Thank you. So it is my honor to thank our major sponsors and collaborators, and I'm told I have 2 minutes and not a second more, so I hope I don't forget anybody. But you make this festival happen, and you allow us to provide free access for anybody who requires that. Perhaps you don't know that JLF Colorado is doing free outreach programs all year round in underserved communities and low-income schools with at-risk students. With the Pine Ridge Reservation, we bring a team of educators here every year from Pine Ridge. Perhaps they're here in our audience with us. So your support is going to all that outreach work year-round as well, and I want you to know that. Thank you to the Boulder Public Library and David Farnan, a visionary. He said, oh, no, this festival has to be here at the library. I want your banner outside my front door, and we were delighted to make that happen. Yeah. And along with that, the support from the Boulder Library Foundation, who also supports most of the programming here at the library. The city of Boulder and another visionary, our mayor Suzanne Jones, who understands JLF and is one of our strongest advocates in the city of Boulder. Mike Eubank, I don't know if you're here. Thank you for making this happen with all the city requirements every year. We couldn't do this without you. Asha Jadeja Motwani, thank you so much for being our patron, and Dr. Prukshit Singh, thank you for your beautiful, meaningful talk and for your support of humanity. Z Entertainment, we have a national grant from the National Endowment of the Arts, which we're delighted to share with you. The Tampa Bay Literary Society, Organic India, Anchor Point Foundation, Bhakti Chai, Colorado Creative Industries, Consulate General of Canada in Denver, Shambhala Publications, our major patrons. We have a very anonymous patron who's very generous with a stock donation every year. Thank you. The Lichter Family Foundation, John Lichter and Linda Stonerock, and Jim Palmer. Thank you so much. Thank you to our library staff who just devote countless hours to this wild thing that descends upon them every year when they already are working 80 hours a week. Our 250 volunteers, the brilliant minds of William Dalrymple and Namita Gokhale. The magic is their minds. Thank you so much. Okay. Our next sessions will begin immediately in all 4 venues. Here, the Canyon Theater, steps downstairs, and workshops in the Brook workshop space. Thank you. Enjoy.